I spent years helping my brother out, constantly giving him cash and a shoulder to lean on, until one night it was like he showed me he didn't even care. I'm James, and I'm 28. People always told me, family first. Maybe it was how Mom raised us after Dad left, or maybe it was just something I clung to because it made me feel good. But ever since I was a kid, whenever my younger brother, Sean, messed up, I was the one cleaning up his messes. He's not a baby, but he definitely should know better. Sean's 26, and he's got a lot to offer, no doubt. When things are good, he's the star. When they're bad, he vanishes. And I guess I was the idiot who thought he'd eventually grow out of it if I just gave him enough love, support, and care. Classic, I know. It started small. "Hey bro, I'm short on rent," he texted, then called in a panic because his account was locked since he'd forgotten about his credit card bill. It's just a phase, I told myself. As time passed, the amounts grew, but I kept telling myself that everyone has a tough time in their 20s. $1,200 for his car repairs. Another 200 here, 600 there. Sean always looked at me with those big, grateful eyes, promising it was the last time. I really wanted to believe him. He called me again, maybe 3 days before New Year's Eve. I was stuck in the grocery store checkout line, juggling a bunch of stuff for a little get-together I was having with some friends. He sounded frantic, like he was running a marathon. He'd already had his car taken away because he didn't pay, and he was about to lose it again if he didn't cough up $2,500 immediately. He was sobbing, pleading with me, saying he'd be out of a job if he lost the car, that he was finally trying to get his act together. So I sent him the money, and defying all logic at that point, I kept it a secret. A part of me felt stupid for caving so easily. The thing is, you can shut someone out for a long time until they show you who they really are. But even the most rose-tinted view eventually gets cracked. On New Year's Eve, Sean said he was going to a party in a town close by. I figured he'd be up to his usual stuff, getting hammered and making promises he wouldn't remember the next day. I stayed home with a few close friends. We played board games, counted down the seconds like we were kids, and ate way too much junk food. It was nice, calm, unlike anything I'd had in ages. I even started to let myself think that maybe this year would be different. Maybe in 2025, I wouldn't feel like I was always carrying my brother's baggage. So my phone decided to die right when everything seemed to be finally coming together. Then there was the text from Sean. "All you are is a burden, avoid it." That was it. "No, I'm sorry, no, let me explain, nothing, just 7 words, and they hit harder than any punch ever could. At first, I figured there had to be a mistake. He had to have been drunk or maybe meant to text someone else. I just stared at the screen for a solid minute, rereading it like the words would magically change. But nope, they didn't. Then the group chat lit up with pictures of Sean, laughing, raising a glass with his friends at some party. The caption on the photo from someone named Freedom from Leeches said something about knowing me. Sean was right there in the pictures, looking totally carefree. It was like the thousands of dollars I'd scraped together to survive meant absolutely nothing. Like I meant nothing. I didn't say anything. I didn't reply. I didn't cuss him out, call him, or send a novel-length text. I was just frozen, letting the cold emptiness wash over me. I faked a smile, said I was just tired, but my friends must have noticed the shift. And that gentle hope I had, it was replaced with something cold and sharp. I barely slept a wink that night. All I could think about were all the times I'd laid him out. Every time I tried to stop him from getting away with his crap, he'd just grin, slap me on the back, and keep right on doing whatever he wanted. That's when it hit me. I hadn't been helping him for years, I'd been enabling him. He didn't even see me as his brother, just some patsy. I felt like such a moron, a total sucker. But when the sun came up that morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I fired up my laptop and pulled up Sean's car loan info. It didn't take long to find the paperwork with my name on it, of course. He'd asked me to co-sign when he was desperate and the bank wouldn't touch him. Technically, the car was still in my name. He grabbed the keys, didn't even glance at the contract. All he cared about was showing off his new ride to his buddies. Then I found the bank statements showing all the payments that had been coming out of my account while Sean was supposedly getting back on his feet. Temporary had become forever, and I'd let it happen. The best part, I already had a tow truck scheduled. He was 2 days late on his payment again. All it would take was one phone call. I got there around 8:30 a.m. before he even woke up wherever he'd passed out. The tow company said they'd be happy to get it done right away. The moment I remembered the situation, all I had to do was confirm I was the legal owner. I smiled to myself. Yep, absolutely mine. I was sipping coffee, watching the tow truck back into Sean's driveway when I parked my car across the street from his place at 9:45 a.m. Sean's car was still there, parked all wonky, like he'd just fallen out of it the night before, not giving it a second thought. It was a flashy little red Mustang, something he couldn't afford even when he was doing well. Within 5 minutes, the Mustang was up in the air, wobbling a bit as the tow truck guy got everything hooked up. The driver had hopped out and got it all connected super fast, like a pro. I saw Sean's front door open slowly as he started to drive away. He had crazy bedhead, no shoes, and no shirt. He looked totally bewildered, squinting in the morning sun trying to figure out what was going on. He just stood there for a second, frozen, then yelled something I couldn't hear from my car, waving his arms wildly, and ran into the street. The tow truck didn't even slow down. I barely made out Sean yelling down the street as I rolled down my window. "Hey!" Totally lost and panicking after that, my phone decided to die. "A call is coming in, Sean." I watched it ring and then ring again, and one more time his first text message of the morning popped up on my screen before it went to voicemail. "Where's my car, dude?" I leaned back, soaking up the sun, and tossed my phone onto the passenger seat, screen down. It felt lighter. For the first time in ages, I wasn't carrying all his weight, but it wasn't over. Nah, the real storm was still brewing. Sean's car was just the first little wave. I just sat there for a bit, letting it sink in. It wasn't exactly happy, more like peaceful, I guess, like standing in a field after a wildfire, empty, kind of burned out but free, a fresh start. My hands stopped trembling, my heart wasn't pounding. I wasn't rushing to fix Sean's latest mess. For once, he'd left a pile of crap for me to deal with, and I wasn't diving in to clean it up. I was finally letting things fall apart like they should have. The real fallout started the minute I got home. Sean went ballistic. My phone blew up 6 missed calls, a crazy amount of texts, like 12, then 19. First, panicked, then furious, then just plain raging. "What did you do?" "Answer me. This isn't funny. I'm calling the cops." I actually laughed at that one. He might actually try it. The car papers, the title, it was all in my name. Legally, Sean been driving my car for months without paying a dime. I was doing exactly what the law allowed, if anything. But Sean, he wasn't exactly known for letting the truth get in his way. By noon, he was pounding on my apartment door. I just stayed put. I could hear the muffled banging of his fists, those shouts to open up. And then those words, "You're ruining my life," floated in while I ate my sandwich at the kitchen table. I knew exactly what he looked like in that moment. Hairy, bloodshot eyes, pacing back and forth, blaming everyone but himself. He changed his tactic when I didn't answer the door. He slipped a note under it. It took me ages to even go get it. I did eventually, and all it said, scrawled in black marker, was, "You'll be sorry." That was so Sean, always threatening something when he couldn't win. I leaned back in my chair and stared up at the ceiling, thinking about everything that led up to this, years of holding back disappointment and anger. I kept telling myself if I just give it some time, he'll get better. Eating ramen for dinner, I thought about all the times I'd paid his rent to keep him from getting kicked out. He'd blown all his money at a casino. So I sold my gaming system, the one thing I really cared about, to cover his utility bill. The birthday presents that never came, and him promising to pay me back next week, which always became next month, and that always ended up being never. What really got to me, though, was remembering the smile on his face when he was happy, before he decided I was a burden, a freeloader, and totally expendable. I was Mr. Congeniality, all smiles and handshakes. I wasn't the one in the wrong anymore. I didn't even need to block his number. It was much more satisfying to just pretend he didn't exist. It was a quiet kind of payback, and it was way better than anything nasty or loud. So I let him yell into the void while I just went on with my life. The next day, I called the bank about the account I'd stupidly left open for him to save money in under my supervision. Wouldn't you know it, overdrawn again. Enough was enough. I took a lunch break and closed that account. He swore he never used the credit card, but I canceled it anyway because he was an authorized user and racked up $1,200 on Uber Eats and bar tabs. I canceled it, paid off the balance myself, and cut off all the financial connections between us. It felt like cutting the last frayed rope from a sinking ship. Then, right before New Year's, the final piece of the puzzle arrived. I sent him $2,500. Remember that? Yeah, my bank handled the wire transfer. Plus, I had the receipts to prove it wasn't a gift because Sean had texted me, promising to pay it back as a loan. That very afternoon, I filed a small claims lawsuit. I didn't expect to get my money back. I didn't care that Sean was struggling financially. I wanted it on the record. I wanted to serve him like a bad smell. I wanted the paperwork to follow him everywhere he went. When the court date finally came, I imagined him sweating, trying to tell the judge how all his talk about being free didn't really matter because of a few little signatures. But I wasn't done with him. I started digging through everything, every email, every bill, every little thing he ever owed or that I did for him. It was a long, crazy year, but I carefully wrote it all down like a bookkeeper balancing the books. It was tough and it was draining. Some nights I'd stay up way too late, wondering if I was being totally insane. Maybe I should just give up. But then I'd remember those pictures of Sean. Smiling, raising a glass to his freedom from me, laughing with his friends. He was done with me. No more taking care of the guy who wouldn't even turn off the lights. No more filling his gas tank. No more being the one to fight his fights when he was too lazy or couldn't be bothered. He didn't want me around, got it? Then, a few days later, I got a piece of mail that was just perfect. The final thing that would really screw everything up landed right in my lap. I was trying to find Sean a better deal on his insurance, and that's what the notice was about: his coverage, which was tied to mine. It said his policy was canceled because he hadn't paid. I knew Sean couldn't handle paying for his own insurance. I also knew he probably hadn't even realized it yet. Man, he really freaked out after finding out how serious driving without insurance is around here. It's not just a little ticket. We're talking huge fines, losing his license, the whole 9 yards. I held that letter sitting there on the couch, and it felt heavy, you know? No happy dance, no nothing. Just a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Sean was finally gonna face the music, something he'd never really done before. And it was gonna be a major smackdown. But I had to wait, you know? Wait for the call, wait for him banging on my door. It was gonna be a desperate plea for help, and I was ready for it. It didn't take long. 3 days later, right before noon, his name popped up on my phone. I didn't answer, just watched it ring. That old knot of guilt in my stomach. Yeah, it's way smaller now, looser, not so tight. After a minute, a text. I really need your help, bro. I set the phone face up, went back to my coffee, letting him stew. He needed to realize that mess he made wasn't going to fix itself. Another minute ticked by. I'm trapped, man, please, got stopped, no insurance. They're talking about towing again, I promise to pay you back, hurry. I almost laughed, almost. The irony was just too perfect. He had no clue his car was gone, completely vanished, that Mustang. Long gone, already up for auction, miles and miles away from where he'd gotten the loan. And about his license. If they really dug into his driving record, they'd see all those unpaid tickets, all under my insurance, no cost to them. A huge mess way beyond a simple sorry. Then another text popped up. Bro, please, it begged. This matters to me. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just some act. Sean wasn't his usual fake crying self, the kind he pulled whenever he needed money or sympathy. This was different, raw, painful, real. I should have felt bad, you know. Maybe once I would have, but it had been so long. All I felt was this weird, quiet satisfaction, like a huge weight finally lifting after years of him using me, ignoring me, tossing me aside. Another call, another message. This time it was a voicemail. I didn't open it right away. I just sat staring out the window, watching the clouds drift by, slow and heavy. For the first time in ages, things felt calm, and I wasn't waiting for the next shoe to drop. When I finally listened, his voice was small, defeated. Man, please, James, I'm serious, he pleaded. I can't drive the car, they say they're gonna tow it. I got nobody else. Okay, look, I swear I'll pay you back just one more time. Please, please don't do this to me. I messed up, I know it. What I said was totally out of line, I get it. Don't leave me hanging like this. I'm so sorry. It was there, that apology, but after all these years, it felt completely hollow, fake. It wasn't because he knew what he was doing or even understood how badly he hurt me. He just needed something, that's all. So again, I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up my banking app, this shiny new account I just opened a few days ago, and stared at my balance. It felt like solid proof I'd finally put myself first, that I wasn't the family bank anymore, that I wasn't responsible for Sean's messes. Later that night, I stupidly checked his social media. I know I shouldn't have. I saw a blurry, angry selfie he'd posted from the side of the road, with flashing police lights in the background. Some people only care when they're in trouble, huh? Maybe it's better this way, no more pretending. Ross really screwed him over, or at least that's what it seemed like. The comments were brutal, mostly from his party buddies, piling on the insults without knowing the whole story. A few were sympathetic, but most were just joking about getting arrested or whatever. And to top it all off, some of our mutual friends were asking how he was doing, like, Happy New Year, here's to 2025. I just kept quiet. That whole post thing, it didn't do anything for me. Sean was kind of right, so I wasn't trying to pretend either. Family was the right thing for him, I knew that. And for me, too. When I woke up the next morning, the apartment was so still, with just the sun coming in and the quiet sounds of this new life that was starting to feel like mine again. No frantic texts, no missed calls. I felt lighter than I had in ages. I went out for a walk in the neighborhood, taking in the cold January air, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Trying to fix people who didn't want fixing, yeah, that was done. When I got home, Sean had sent me one more message. This time there wasn't anger. It wasn't urgent. It was just 2 words, "I apologize." He said he was sorry, but I didn't say anything back. I didn't even bother to open the mail after that first time. There was nothing else to say, really. I didn't hate him, though. It would have been easier if I did. To be honest, hate sort of means you still care, that you're alive and all that. But what I felt now was just distance. It was like looking at an old picture of a life that wasn't mine anymore. Sean went silent for a few weeks after that. No calls, no texts, no showing up unannounced. I didn't know if he'd finally gotten it or if life had just pulled him in another direction for a while. But I didn't go looking for him. I didn't reach out. I just focused on my own life for once. And when I did, things started to change so fast it was kind of shocking. I started hitting the gym again, just for me, you know? No ulterior motives. I even reached out to some old friends I'd drifted away from over time. The ones who were totally over me getting walked all over had kind of faded away. I even picked up extra shifts at work. I had goals now, things I wanted to actually save for, places I wanted to visit, not because I was cleaning up someone else's mess. As I imagined it, Sean's life got smaller while mine was getting bigger. I bumped into an old friend of ours who used to be tight with Sean. About 2 months after that insane New Year's Eve, we met up on a Saturday afternoon at a local coffee shop. His name was Nate. We stumbled through the usual awkward small talk you do when you have too much past together but not enough recent connection. Eventually, Nate brought up Sean. "Have you talked to your brother lately?" he asked, not looking up, still stirring his coffee. "Nope," I said flatly. He then looked up at me like he wasn't sure if I cared and shrugged. "He's not doing so hot, man," I said. Nate nodded slowly. "Not really my problem anymore." "Yeah, figured," I said. He continued. "I just wanted to let you know he's currently living with a woman and struggling. He got fired a few weeks back and he's behind on his rent already." I didn't say anything. What could I even say? Sean was always headed down this road. I'd always been there to catch him, patching up every mess he made, and that was the only reason it took so long. Nate hesitated, then went on. "He's telling everyone you left him homeless, just abandoned him." I kind of laughed to myself, a tired laugh, just worn out, not even mad, sounded just like him. "You're not angry?" he asked. "Nope," I said. "I told the truth, I'm done." Saying it out loud, it felt peaceful. Nate gave me this awkward pat on the shoulder like he didn't know what to do, and we went our separate ways. Later that night, I thought about Sean's story, how he twisted things to make himself the victim. How he probably painted me as this awful, ungrateful sister who kicked him while he was down. I used to obsess over what people thought of me, used to eat me alive. Not anymore. If the people I cared about actually cared enough, they'd find out the truth just like I did. That spring was a long one. Bright blue mornings that made you want to open the car windows and just drive anywhere. So I started doing just that. Pick a direction and go. About 40 minutes outside the city, I stumbled on this tiny little town. One Saturday, tucked between a thrift store and a bakery, I saw a small bookstore. On a whim, I went in and spent a couple hours browsing old paperbacks and chatting with the owner about my favorite writers. I bought myself a nice journal, some books, and a couple of coffee mugs. It was just a normal Saturday, spent exactly how I wanted, no plans, no urgent calls, no drama, but it felt like the biggest win ever. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email, not a text, a real letter. The handwriting was messy, like someone was in a rush. I almost threw it away without even looking inside. It was from Sean, almost. But I got curious. Inside, there was just one sheet of paper. It said, "James, I know you probably don't care anymore, and I wouldn't blame you. I wanted to say sorry for everything. I was a selfish jerk. I took advantage of you just because you're my brother, like that's what brothers are for. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. Now I see how much I used you and hurt you. I'm so sorry. You were the only one who ever really tried to help me." Thinking back on it now, I screwed it up. I want to be better. I don't expect you to believe me. I just wanted you to know. Even though I don't deserve it, I appreciate everything you did. I just sat there for a long time, turning Sean's letter over and over in my hands. It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to me, the most real, and maybe, just maybe, this time he actually meant it. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry or bitter, but because I just didn't know what to say. It's not like I want to forget, it's just, some things are best left alone. Not out of anger, mind you, but because trying to fix them would just hurt all over again. Some doors are better left closed, you know? Letting someone back in isn't always about forgiving. Sometimes it's just about wishing them well from a distance. I tucked the letter away in a drawer and went on with my life. And then it hit me, this amazing thing. By the time summer rolled around, those long, sunny evenings, I wasn't just scraping by anymore. I was still here and I was carrying my own weight. No more carrying anyone else's baggage.